Namaste and good morning to all of you. Let's start the class with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhuvava Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma satgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityorma amritam gamya. Om sehna bhavatu, sehna bhunaktu, sehviryam karvavahi, tejasvi navadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti, shanti, shanti. Om. I've been telling you for the last few days that I'm going to just talk about Sanskars a little bit before our Avadhuta Gita today. Sanskars, what are they? Because we use that word quite a bit. And what is the English translation of Sanskar? First of all, remember that Sanskars are the building blocks of our character. Character is nothing but a bundle of sanskars. And in English, it can be understood as the impressions which are born of conscious thoughts. So these are the most important things about our mental life. Hence, about our human life and our character. Because whatever you think repeatedly in the conscious mind, that goes to become strong impressions in the subconscious mind. Okay, so it's just like they go deeper into the recesses of our mind. And that's why I said they are the building blocks of our character, our behavior, our speech, our attitude, our thinking, and they are responsible for our memories. You can see how important these sanskars are. To me, sanskars are the most essential part of human life. In fact, the early education should be about the creation of good sanskars. Creating the right building blocks for a great character. So remember that sanskars are created or they are formed by the conscious vrittis. Okay, and you are all familiar with the term vritti. Vrittis which just we keep on forming repeatedly again and again. So when you think of something repeatedly, you create a sanskar which lodges itself into the subconscious. So please see it carefully that vritti happens in the conscious mind, but sanskars remain in the subconscious mind. Okay, so that is one big difference between a sanskar and the vritti. So these sanskars are responsible for your memories because that's where the memory is coming from, subconscious mind. So these sanskars, you can say that they fructify further into memories. So vritti, sanskar, memory. So this is like a cycle, chakra. Vritti, sanskar, and memory. And this cycle goes on day and night. This keeps our mind busy because constantly either it's a thought or it's unfolding of the past as memory, or something is being repeated in our conscious mind and then lodging into the subconscious mind. So this cycle goes on and on and on. Keeps us busy. That's why mentally people are tired even after a great sleep. After eating good food, still their mind is not calm. So our entire knowledge and perception, thinking is to great extent guided by our sanskars. So if we have the right sanskars, right building blocks, as I said earlier, this has to be laid down in the early years of life. Then we can see that how beautiful the life can be. That person's behavior, person's attitude, person's language, that person will be responsible and very reliable person. And without these solid, good building blocks within us, you can never know what kind of a thoughts, perverted behavior, all kinds of attitudes, and even the deviant behavior finally can come into our life. So creation of good sanskars is so important. But how do we generate these good sanskars? The rishis, they say good conscious thinking and actions, the karma. So when you repeatedly think rightly, think about good things, you are really taking a good stuff inside you through your senses. And through that, you perform good actions. Naturally, the sanskars become better. Good tendencies are there. Great impressions are there in our subconscious. So it's very simple. The gateway to the subconscious is through the conscious mind. Live a conscious life. Okay, the gateway to the subconscious is through the conscious mind. Do not live a life unconsciously. Repeat good thoughts, perform good actions with your hands, and definitely you will generate good sanskars in the subconscious. We need to just apply this formula. There are several kinds of sanskars. I'm going to mention or go through 6 main categories of sanskars, which our scriptures dwell upon. The first is Kalesh Sanskars. Kalesh, K-L-E-S-H-A, Kalesh Sanskars. Kalesh means affliction. Wrong thoughts repeatedly, many times done, create Kalesh Sanskars. That means negativity in mind. We keep on repeating and they become sanskar. So that's how they lodge the negativity, lodge into our subconscious. That's how the sorrow produces, hurt produces, resentment, and a whole lot of our psychological structures and our ego is based on all these negativities. Rishi Patanjali said there are 5 kinds of Kalesh sanskars. Avidya, Asmita, Raag, Dhavesh, Abhinivesh. Those are all Kaleshas, afflictions. You all know Avidya, ignorance. Asmita, strong sense of ego. Not based upon the reality of who you are. Then comes the attachment, Raag, hatred, Dhavesh. and Abhinivesh, irrational fears, like fear of death. All these are called Kaleshas. They are all Kalesha Sanskar. They are strong afflictions in the form of negative Sanskars, and they repeatedly generate memories which are frightening, which are negative, and finally, you just don't even want to live in that kind of a mind which is so negative. And this is the cause for the depression, frustration. Because if we have not generated these negative sanskars, that means we did not build the right building blocks. How can we expect to have a good life? How can we expect to have calmness in our mind? You can have all the good things in life, you can be living in a luxury, but your mind is not restful. It has all these kalesha sanskars in there. Definitely, a person like that will not have a good experience of life. That is the whole point of Kalesh Sanskars. Second type of Sanskar is called Vidya Sanskars. Vidya. These are good knowledge Sanskars, which we definitely get it from the outer world, or almost all of our thought process, which is based on sense perceptions, which is based on things we have thought out. So knowledge basically is Vidya. So all these sanskars are also there in our subconscious, waiting to support us, waiting to hold our mind and give a positivity to our character. So more we dwell on this, good ideas, great ideas, inspirational things, more Vidya sanskars will be generated. When we study something, when we are in the company of good people, Vidya sanskars are generated. And these sanskars will make sure that we remain in positivity, good intentions, good actions, good behavior, Vidya sanskars. So on one hand, Kalesh sanskars, negative, worry, fear, Vidya sanskars, knowledge. Then the third one is called Bhog Sanskar. These are really dangerous ones actually. To us human beings, it seems like, oh wow, I'm gonna enjoy. But these are the deep-rooted impressions of pleasure and pain. That's called Bhog. They are so strong in our mind, they constantly upsurge. They come out as different kinds of memories. Memories of pleasurable things you have experienced, or memories of the painful things which you went through. Sometimes we forget all the beautiful incidents, but painful incidents is deeply lodged in there. For example, if someone hurts you with a small word, you still remember it. After 10, 15 years, all the good things a person did, you forget. So these can be changed by changing our conscious thought pattern. Because in the subconscious, the sanskars are there, so we can change them. Because what you think consciously, that is going to enter your subconscious and become your sanskar. So repeatedly thinking about good, positive things in life, noble things in life, inspiring things, higher values, acts of kindness, love, service, that will naturally change all the negative sanskars in our mind. There's a different levels of happiness we have talked about earlier. It is important to condition our mind for higher levels of happiness. That is why experience of higher knowledge, devotion, service, kindness, help, giving, sharing, those experiences of deep committed relationships, all of these will overcome the Bhog Sanskars, which are based upon the instinctive habits. So these are some of the ways we change. But change can happen only through the conscious. Okay? Through the conscious. It's like if there's a dirty water, you can clean it only by adding the clean water. So through the conscious mind, add the positive. Whatever is embedded in there, it will come out. Since today is not the class for this kind of a topic, even though I just give you a little hint here and there, so rest of it will go through next week. Okay, so I told you there are 6 kinds of sanskars. So first of all, remember sanskars are the impressions in the subconscious mind, but we are responsible for putting all that into our subconscious mind. Whether we did it unconsciously or consciously, now consciously we got to change that. So Kalesh Sanskar, Vidya Sanskar, Bhog Sanskar, these are the 3 we talked about. Then there's a Karmashya Sanskar, then Nirodh Sanskar, and Pragya Bhakti Sanskar. So these last 3 we will talk about next week. And then there's another thing I want to talk about. Stages of the manifestations of these sanskars also. Okay, so but today we're gonna just put a little halt on that and go to our Avadhuta Gita. But anybody has any question on this quickly? Okay, so today we are going to start chapter 7. This Avadhuta Gita has 8 chapters. So this is the 7th chapter, which has 15 verses, and then 8th chapter, which has 10 verses. So in 3 more weeks, 2 more weeks after today, we should be done with the scripture. This 7th chapter, which we are going to start, describes the state of the Avadhuta. Okay. And who's the Avadhuta? One who has shaken off ignorance, Avidya. He doesn't have Avidya Sanskar. So Avadhuta doesn't have the Avidya Sanskar. Then if he doesn't have a Vidya Sanskar, he doesn't have the Asmita Sanskar. He doesn't have the Raag. He doesn't have a Dhavesh. He doesn't have Abhinivesh. Because Avidya is the root of all of that. Okay. So Avadhuta is one who has shaken off Avidya Sanskar completely. Let's look at verse number 1, chapter 7. Rathyaha karpat virachit kantha punye apunye vivarchit pantha shunyah gare tishtati nagnah shuddh niranjan samras magnah. Rathya, path. Karpat, rag. Virachit, put on. Kantha, patched garment. Punya, virtue or pure. Apunya, sin or vice. Vivarjit, free from. Pantha, path. Shunya, emptiness. Gare, house or houses. Tishtati, remains, stable. Nagnaha, naked, like a naked being. Shuddh is pure. Niranjan, spotless, stainless. Sam is one. Ras, essence. Magnaha, immersed. So I told you that this is in this chapter, description is about the state of Avadhuta. The Avadhut wears a patched garment made of rags, cast off by the side of the street. So that means whatever is available, he just wears that, he doesn't care. Any rag somebody threw away. And it could be just leaves, wrapping the body with some leaves. So Avadhut wears a patched garment made of rags cast off by the side of the street. He walks a path which is free from virtue and vice. Absorbed in the pure, unpolluted bliss of Brahma, the carefree mendicant lives in a deserted place. Deserted. See, it's like a shunya gare. There could be a house which is deserted. It could be a old, discarded place. To him, it doesn't matter whether it's a house or whether it's a tree or whether it's a cave. So whatever the place, nobody else is there, he just stays there with whatever clothes he has. लक्ष्य अलक्ष्य है विवर्जित लक्ष्य युक्त अयुक्त विवर्जित दक्षः केवल तत्व निरंजन पूतः वाद विवाद कथम अवधूतः. लक्ष्य, लक्ष्य means aim or mark. अलक्ष्य, aimless. विवर्जित, free from, excluded. Again, lakshya, the aims. Yukt, attached. Or over here it could mean right also. Ayukt, detached, wrong. Vivarchit, free from, excluded. Daksha, skillful, capable. Keval, true essence of the absolute. Keval. Tattva, reality. Niranjan, pure, stainless. Putaha, purified. Vad is a debate or a discussion. Vivad, argument. Katham, how? Avadhuta, one who has been liberated from ignorance. The signs of the Avadhut may or may not be visible. Okay, the lakshya. Normally we look at the signs, we look at the marks, what a kind of a clothes a sadhu is wearing, what kind of a clothes a prince is wearing. So in Avadhut, you don't see that. So by clothes, by those markings, you cannot say that this is Avadhut. So the signs of the Avadhut may or may not be visible. Because in the previous verse, he said he is wearing a ragged, patched up robe discarded by somebody. He may be, may not be. So that is not the sign. Although he is beyond right and wrong, he is absolutely skillful, honest. His real nature is perfect, pure and spotless. How is it possible for such an illumined soul to become involved in arguments or even disputations? He doesn't need to prove it to somebody that I know it all. He doesn't waste his time in useless arguments. He has seen it. He knows he's one with it. According to the Prarabdha, it just goes to the life. And that's about it. So that's what he's telling us over here. The signs of the Avadhuta may or may not be visible. Although he's beyond right and wrong, he's absolutely skillful, honest. So these are the qualities. Because of these qualities, he can see Brahma everywhere. That's how he has experienced it. His real nature is perfect. Our real nature is perfect too, but do we identify ourselves with our real nature or not? That is the question. And the real nature is definitely spotless, pure. How is it possible for such an illumined soul to become involved in arguments? Ashaha pash vibandhan muktaha शौच आचार विवर्जित युक्तः एवं सर्व विवर्जित शांत तत्वम शुद्ध निरंजन वंतः. Asha. Asha means hope. Pash, traps. Vibandhan, bondage. Muktaha, free from. Shauch, purification. Achar, will. Vivarchit, free from. Yuktaha, joined. Evam means thus. Sarv, all. Vivarchit, free from. Shant, peaceful. Tattvam, essence, truth. Shuddh is pure. Niranjan vantaha, they who are stainless. Avadhuta is free from captivating trap of hopes. Hopes over here means desires. Okay. Hope is always about something in future. Hope. I hope I get this. I hope I go there. So Avadhuta is free from that kind of a trap. Shunning physical tidiness and social niceties, he is absorbed in the Supreme Spirit. So achar, vivahar, all those behaviors, how should he act? He is beyond that. Very spontaneous. Thus, renouncing everything, he becomes one with the pure, stainless Brahma. Because for him, the most important thing is to stay connected with that highest. See, our behavior, our achar, vichar, it gets sustained. How do we look? How do others perceive? What will I get? If I do this way, will my future will be okay or not? We are constantly trapped by all that. Avadhuta has shaken it off completely. He just lives in the present, staying connected. Katham ih deh videh vicharaha, katham ih raag virag vicharaha, nirmal nischal gagan akaram, swayam ih tattvam sahaj akaram. Katham means how, ih means here. Deh, body, videh, bodiless, vichar, thought. Again, katham, how, ih here, rag, attachment, virag, detachment. Vichar means thought, nirmal, pure, nischal, unmoved, gagan, sky or space, akaram, like the form, swayam, the self, ih here, tattvam, essence, truth, sahaj. Sahaj is natural, That's a sahaj, akaram form. So natural form. That's like an innate. In the state of realization, how can the Avadhut consider whether he has a body or not? It doesn't even matter. Or whether he has attachment or not. He himself is the immaculate, immovable, innate reality. Infinite as space. So this is the realization after, this is the state of realization. Okay. We can only just try to imagine this. But once it becomes our experience, only then we can really understand the deep implications of these words. Katham ihi tattvam vindati yatra rupam arupam katham ihi tatra gagan akaraha parma yatra vishay karnam katham ihi tatra. Katham is how, ihi means here, tattvam, truth, vindati, one finds, yatra, where, rupam, form, arupam, formless. Katham, how, ih, this, tatra, there, gagan, sky or space, akar, form, param, supreme, yatra means where, vishay, making, karnam, an object. Katham, how, ih, this, tatra, that. So in this state of realization, how and where can one know the reality? How can there be any form or formlessness? When the supreme reality is all pervading like space, how can one objectify it? So there's no vishay, no karnam. You really cannot objectify it. It's just one. It's a space and you're part of that space. There's no duality. There's no two. It's only one. गगनाकार निरंतर हंसः तत्व विशुद्ध निरंजन हंसः एवं कथम इह भिन्न विभिन्नम बंध विबंध विकार विभिन्नम. गगन आकार, the form of a sky. Nirantar, indivisible. Hans, Hans is a swan that is also used for a supreme self, Hans. That's why the term Paramhans. Okay, supreme self. Tattva, truth. Vishuddha, pure, clear. Niranjan, stainless. Again, Hans, supreme self. Evam das, katham, how. This. Bhin, difference. Vibhin, non-difference. Bandh means bondage. Vibandh, free from bondage. Like a freedom. Vikar, modification. Vibhinnam, division, distinction, or difference. Vibhinnam. Brahm is all pervading like space. And its essential nature is pure and spotless. Therefore, how can there be division and multiplication, if you want to call that, bhinna vibhinna, and liberation, and various other modifications in it? So how can you divide it, multiply it, change it? Those are the modifications. How can you do that? It's not possible. Okay, so this is what Avadhut ji is saying after realizing केवल तत्व निरंतर सर्वम योग वियोगी कथम इह गर्वम एवं परम निरंतर सर्व एवं कथम इह सार विसारम केवल सेल्फ अलोन तत्व एसेंस ट्रूथ निरंतर indivisible सर्वम all योग union वियोगी disunion or separation katham how इह here or this garvam pride or ego garv evam das param supreme nirantar indivisible sarvam all evam das katham how ih this or here sar substance or essence sar visaram free from essence the absolute Brahm pervades all equally. Okay, equally. So everywhere equal, homogeneous. It's not that in this place it's more and this place it's less. Again and again we see these terms. This scripture also and the other scriptures, the same thing. Brahm is equally everywhere. Whether somebody believes it or not doesn't matter. Brahm is there. There's nothing but Brahm. So the absolute Brahm pervades all equally. How can one feel union or separation then? So now we got to think about it. If we feel that no, Brahm is not here, God is not here, it's not a problem of Brahm or God, it is our own mind which is deluded. So we need to fix the instrument which is keeping us deluded. So the absolute Brahm pervades all equally. How can one feel union or separation there? Since the Supreme Brahm is identical in all, how can there be any variation of strength or weakness? This is what essence and free from essence means. So in common terms, you can think that strong essence of something is like it's a strong. And when it's not there, it's a weakness. How can you even talk like that? It's equally everywhere, pervaded all the time. By definition, it cannot change. केवल तत्व निरंजन सर्वम गगन आकार निरंतर शुद्धम कथम इह संग विसंगम सत्यम कथम इह रंगम विरंगम केवल self absolute केवल only tattva truth niranjan pure stainless sarvam all gagan sky space akar form nirantar indivisible shuddham pure katham how ih here or this sang association visangam disassociation satyam truth katham how ih this rangam color or a play rang. Okay, this word is like a rang manch, right? You have heard about that. Rang is a play also. Virangam, cessation of play or a bizarre color. Virangam. The absolute Brahm shines equally in all. And that's what we learned in Bhagavad Gita also. The Jnani sees the sameness in a dog also, in a learned person also, in a butcher also, in a cow also. The same. This is what Avadhuta Ji is saying. The absolute Brahm shines equally in all. It is clear and all pervasive like space. Truly, how can there be any friendship or enmity, like association and disassociation? Because normally we like to associate with certain people and disassociate the people we don't like. He says, how can that be? Or play or cessation of play. It could be play or misery in it. Normally, play is when something we enjoy, and virangam is when it has ended. So he says, how can that be? It's not. It's the same all the time. These changes are only in the Prakriti, not in the Brahm. So when we identify ourselves with the Brahm, then we can see that how this equanimity is there. The sameness is there. Calmness is there. I mean, we are looking for the calmness and the peace and all that, but we are going about it the wrong way. So this is what Avadhuta is telling us. So let's look at next one. Yog viyoge rahit yogi, bhog vibhoge rahit bhogi, evam charti hi mandam mandam, man saha kalpit sahaj anandam. Beautiful verse. Beautiful. See, that's why it's good to know some of the Sanskrit. That's why I go through word by word, so that you just have a gist of it, but how beautifully it's written. Yog, unity. Viyogehe, separateness. Rahit, free from. Yogi, immersed in the essence of the self. That's a yogi. Okay, it's a union of just dissolving all this Prakriti into the Prakriti. And you have a union. You are immersed in the essence of the self. Bhog, experience, enjoyment. Vibhoge, non-experience. Rahitaha, free from. Bhogi, enjoyer, experiencer. See, like a bhog is experience and bhogi is experiencer. Evam means thus. Charati, wanders, moves. He means therefore. Mandam, mandam, slowly, slowly. Mand, mand. Manasa, with mind. Kalpit, imaginary, conceptual. Sahaj anandam, spontaneous bliss. Spontaneous, sahaj. When we learn to just live a life with a sahaj sabhav, then we stay in this state of blissfulness. Sahaj. The Avadhut may or may not observe the rules of yoga. Still, he is a yogi. Why he is a yogi? Because he is immersed in that Brahmhood. He may or may not have any possessions. Still, he is an enjoyer. Because we think that we'll enjoy with the help of the objects. He is enjoying, he is happy. He is getting the bliss from the fountain where the bliss comes from. He has found that ever-ending fountain of bliss. So he may or may not have any possessions, still he is an enjoyer. Indeed, he moves slowly and calmly. So when we say mand, slowly and calmly, and enjoys the natural bliss arising from his own pure mind. Okay, so he's trying to paint a picture of this Avadhut for us. See how drastically opposite of this is from our modern thoughts, I should say. We think after achieving something, doing something, going somewhere, talking to somebody, being in the company of somebody, then we'll have happiness. He says, he has found, he has realized that Brahm is everywhere. There's nothing but a Brahm. And that's where the bliss is coming from. That's why God is called Sat Chit Anand. Anand. Bliss. That's what we are looking for, all of us. Bodh vibodhai sattam yuktah dvait advaitai katham hi muktah sahaj virjah katham ih yogi shuddh niranjan samras bhogi. Bodh, knowledge. Vibodh, ignorance. Sattam, always. Yuktaha, related to. Dvait, duality. Advait, non-duality. Katham, in which manner. Ih, this. Muktaha, free. Sahaj, natural state. Virjaha, free from attachment. See, Raj means attachment. Viraj, free from attachment. Katham, how. Ih, here. Yogi, Shuddh, pure. Niranjan, stainless. Sam ras, one essence. Bhogi, enjoy. As long as a person has both knowledge and ignorance and a sense of duality and non-duality, how can he be liberated? Why should one who always enjoys the pure, unadulterated bliss of Brahm and whose innate nature is free from desire and ignorance try to be a yogi? He's not trying to be, he is. He's not moving from one state of mind to the other state of mind. He is fully absorbed into this Brahmahood. Okay, so that's why I said earlier that in this chapter, he is just telling us the state of the mind of Avadhut, or I should say state of Avadhut, how this Avadhut is. Okay, so let's stop it here and we'll meditate for a few minutes before we end our class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadai Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Any question before we start meditation?